just taking a step back, back to DeFi Summer, because it sounds like DeFi Summer was when you really like caught the crypto bug. Like you've got to tell us, like, how did you manage to take 10K and turn it into more than $2 million? Like, can you just give us like the whole story? Like, I'm actually really dying to hear this. I have a very impressive trader here this week. He goes by the name Maverick. Maverick is probably one of the most interesting traders that I've ever met in my life, and I would say that the main reason is that he's so multifaceted and has such a wide range. He ran up an account in DeFi Summer from 10K to over $2 million. He also he trades the Bitcoin 1 minute chart using astrology. He does amazing trench gem finding, and he runs up accounts in the Solana Trenches, and he was probably one of the first people that I met before things on Twitter were saying that it would be kind of like an AI revolution on Solana. He was calling that and saying that the AI agents and AI everything on Solana was going to be huge, and it was going to be the next big bubble. He was the first person that I read that was talking about it. He has a lot to teach, a lot to share with us, a lot of great war stories. He's been doing this for a while. So I'd like to introduce Maverick. Maverick, thanks for being here, man.
Yeah, man, happy to be here. I think, crypto, when I first started, probably like most people, you hear about it. I heard about it through my brother, and it was like, hey, I'm buying this thing called Bitcoin. And he obviously was doing, the investing component. And that kind of caught my attention as like, what is all this, world of crypto? I never saw this. This was in 2017. And this was probably right around like November of 2017. So right before like the first big run up that caught everyone's attention. But I remember seeing Bitcoin and being like, like most people, I can't afford that, but I could buy a Litecoin. I could buy an Ethereum. So yeah, like my first coin that I ever purchased was a Litecoin.
Nice.
And I did it on Exodus, where it was the cool, like just do a quick little swap on these coins.
Exodus is a great wallet. People like don't use Exodus anymore. I don't know why. You can host every single. This is before that all the other wallets could host every single asset. This was like years ago. You could have Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana on Exodus, and they were like the first ones to do it. I don't know why people don't use it anymore. It's kind of sad.
Yeah, it was a solid wallet. But it did so much stuff like through the last like cycle, like staking and getting all the different various coins from like all your different L1s on different networks and everything, like all coordinating to a wallet. But when it first started 2017, I think it was like Funfair token. They had a couple of things in there, and then they had another wallet they were testing called Eden, where you could get Ripple at the time, which is XRP. And I remember just like the fun aspect of like kind of going into the uncharted territories. So like figuring out how to for extra wallet, how to, secure Ripple, which was, at the time just different network. And this was like all before like I got into like understanding exchanges. So this was like all on chain, in 2017 where there wasn't much infrastructure and trying to figure out how to like grab something and store it somewhere. And then understanding kind of what these like companies were doing. And I remember seeing Tron before it was, before it really took off. And I swear I bought it on like some Russian exchange. God, it was like Liquid maybe or something. It was like researching like where to find this coin because it did X, Y, and Z, and it was nowhere to put it in your wallet. You had to like store it somewhere. It was that kind of stuff that really just caught my attention. And that like it's so difficult, but like being so difficult, you're early.
Do you know when this was? Like, can you show us on a chart like when you were buying Tron and Litecoin? And I feel like a lot of people are like, "Oh, that was the wick. I was the top. I top ticked it." And that was me. I bought Bitcoin and Ethereum at the top of 2017 at like 20,000 or something, and then it was like all down from there.
Yeah, I was early. So and I wasn't even that early. So most people bought this stuff way in advance, but I was in November, December time period. before like the thing took off like in December, January. So Tron, I bought it like, it was like sub penny. It was like 0.005 or something. And I think it ran to like 18 or 20 cents in
Wow.
that cycle. And then I think Ripple was, it's like 20 cents is when I got in. And I think that ran to like $2 or something. That was like my first intro to, this entire space of like being able to do your research, find something, kind of stick with it, and wait for the masses to show up, take it to some like crazy number, get out and exit gracefully as best you can. And in certain situations, like I got out some, but definitely you never get out enough until you see this crash.
Yeah.
I experienced the crash in 2018, and it was one of those things where like, I think at that time, everyone was like, if you're in crypto, you're like an idiot. like everyone lost money in that 2018 crash, and like everyone walked away from it. And for whatever reason, like my love continued. So I just kept looking at everything that was being built in the bear market. Like it was like Theta, VeChain, like, crypto companies, and just kind of like staying with it and kind of grabbing, things here and there, really like set the foundation for the next cycle. The stuff that I was like, able to be a part of is like DeFi Summer. So, just being present and not like leaving crypto entirely, I was able to kind of see like what's starting within like it was like called Uniswap at the time, but it was Uniswap was like the biggest place for you to like swap things before Sushi came out, and all on Ethereum, but like being able to like take something and then like grab something, another coin that basically someone had just created out of thin air that was going to do X, Y, and Z. And people built concepts all around stuff, but it was largely at that time, it was all about like staking your coins to get returns in DeFi Summer. So it was,
Matt, can you show on your screen, on your chart, like the time frame that you're talking about? For everyone that's watching for DeFi Summer?
Yeah, hold on. Let me go back. That was like 20 maybe.
Maybe show us the Uniswap chart so people can understand how insane DeFi Summer was. Crazy. I mean, that was, I think when people think of alt season, that's what people think of. Just getting like every asset to pump at the same time in this totally new space, DeFi, which was basically like the idea you could capture yield on chain, and you could deposit your coins and get something for them, staking rewards, airdrops. Like this was like the beginning of that, at least on like a more widespread mainstream stage. And the people who played it well had incredible returns. Not all of them kept their returns, but a lot of people made huge returns, unrealized, and some realized.
Okay, so on synthetics, this is a great example of pre-DeFi Summer. So, if you never left after the 2018 crash and you stayed in 2019, this is the stuff that happened in 2019. So there was synthetics, there was, a couple other, Uniswap didn't have a coin because they did an airdrop. But there was, what they were trying to do was bring like trading online into your space. And there were dexes where you were swapping, these coins, but you were able to buy like synthetics like under 10 cents. And so, it didn't take much in 2019 to like toss $100 and grab a share of something. And then once kind of things got heated into the summer, you got this little spike up. And this is kind of what I saw with AI. You got like this almost very similar move. You got to $1.06, and then you come back down to like, 30 cents, right? So in this sense, most AI projects, I kind of still feel like there's a move like this waiting. Such a my bad. Like, is this KuCoin? It's like, I don't know. It's huge wicks on.
No, these wicks are amazing. Like, I wonder if anyone was able to get filled on those. But like, you can just see. I mean,
so
those are
liquid,
truly God candles. When people are like, "Oh, it's a God candle," like that's gonna break a hole in the top of the screen. It's gonna go so high. Like, look at that.
So like, most people, and I wasn't really on crypto Twitter, back in 2017, 2018. I was just mostly doing this just like on my own. I didn't have any community or see where people were posting. I think if people followed DGen Spartan at the time, like the guy was huge on synthetics. But, there were a lot of smart people that were, accumulating and buying stuff that was a solid project. And, Rune, Luna, like all these coins that were, all now you think of like, oh, Luna's collapsed and all this other stuff. Like you could buy them for super cheap, just tossing in $100. So that's why, when I kind of saw like this move get retraced, this was like the time period where a ton of people walked away and said, no, screw this stuff. A lot of other smart people just bought more during this time period.
And that was COVID. That was the depths of, that was the beginning of the pandemic. Yeah.
Yep. So you had like this, time period here, you kind of come down, and then like this stuff just ran like crazy. Gosh, like was the synthetics like peaked at 28? God. And I think this is what everyone's hoping for is like, where's that alt season that we're supposed to get?
Where's the synthetics type gains?
Yeah. So, I mean, looking at like AI, I'll pick on like AI 16. Like most people hate SHA, so it works. It's just been down only for these, right? Yeah. So like when something launched on Binance, it's like the peak. On chain, you were probably picking it up 20, 30 cents. In the weeks prior, and then everything kind of listed, and it was like peak for Zerebro. I mean, everything. And now it's back to like pennies. So, all these, the reason why I kind of like some of this is that it's like it is crypto at the core, which is huge speculation and people not wrapping their head around it. So, when you think about AI and everyone, we don't really know, like, is this going to change the world? Is it not? Like, what's this AI, capability? What kind of things can AI16Z do with Eliza? And whether you're looking at ARC, like there's a ton of these things now. What are these infrastructure plays, making AI agents? And the thing is that people don't know in the next like 4 years what this will do. So it adds to like this speculation. It adds to the fact that like you could invest or buy into something now that has huge potential. And you can't put a price tag on it, which is elite in crypto, kind of adds to this, like it can go to a crazy number that most people are like, it just like can't wrap their head around. So that's kind of where seeing those pockets in crypto is like where you could, potentially be investing some of your money and like see it return insane amounts.
Just taking a step back to DeFi Summer, because it sounds like DeFi Summer is when you really like caught the crypto bug. Like you've got to tell us, like, how did you manage to take 10K and turn it into more than $2 million? Like, can you just give us like the whole story? Like, I'm actually really dying to hear this.
Yeah.
As well as you can remember it.
Yeah, I think part of it was just kind of being in the right place at the right time. So in 2018, 2019, I was able to build like a foundation of crypto at like what you were looking at with synthetics, like these penny prices, 10 cents, 5 cents for multiple projects that ran, some 70, 80, $100 plus. And so I think part of it was just me being so naive in the space and not like, you see it now. I see it differently now, but like back then I saw it as these things were all going to change the future. And so me buying, into, and I don't want to like pick on any, one, but I'll pick on Luna because it collapsed, right? So, I literally was like, into the belief that like Anchor and this like 25% APR like is just going to be like, why wouldn't you like park your cash in here?
You've got to tell everyone, because there might be people that totally missed the Luna blow up. Tell everyone what it was. It's kind of funny.
Oh my god. Yeah,
it was the best. It was the best thing ever. I mean, dude, I mean, people got hosed on this. I have actually one personal friend. It was something insane. It was like he had been putting like his entire life savings into it, and like he has a good job, like a steady like day job, but he lost. It was something crazy where he was like pretty much almost fully allocated to Luna and lost almost all of it, and like basically just like he was like, I have no savings left. Like I just have to keep working this job to like have anything. Really sad stuff.
So many people were impacted from Luna and then FTX on top of it.
I got screwed by
FTX. That was a really rough end to crypto where I think a lot of people just said, I'm done, man. Like, I'm never coming back from this. And it's hard to like I say my mentality's changed from where I was. Like, back then it was like the sky's the limit. And then you see things get broken, massive losses. And now you kind of look at everything like, okay, potentially things will never last forever. So like at what point do you get out? You're always looking at like an exit strategy.
Yeah.
And that's why like AI, for example, I was expecting higher before it fully collapsed, but this is like how fast it happens, right?
Yeah.
So like, you exit at some point. But for me, it's like, I'm still hopeful. Like, there's probably going to be a second move, but if there's not, then that's just like that's part of crypto. It happens all the time. The like your question around Luna is like, I would say at the core of like DeFi Summer, and kind of what came out of it. A lot of retail people came in, and it was like you were printing money out of thin air. So it was like I could take anything, park it into like a DeFi app like Luna, and I'm gonna come back in a week and have made X amount more in my cash or whatnot. Then what most people did is you're sort of like, well, if I just printed 10,000, I have more flexibility and risk to go lose it to some degree. Like, so someone might see that as like, I just made $10,000 that really I shouldn't have had. So what they do, they went and they put it into like altcoins or something. So risky plays. So you kind of look at like other dexes that are starting. And I'll talk about like Pancake Swap. That was like a dex on Binance chain, and then there was Radium that started on Solana chain. So you had like these two other chains that kind of came up, and people that were familiar with Uniswap were like, well, how did that function on Ethereum? Well, get into these dexes early and get their coins, essentially. So all you had to do was provide liquidity. So if you had already like kind of money to start with, you're getting into these ecosystems really on the ground floor at like the true infrastructure play, which is anyone who wants to buy anything in Solana would need to use Radium to make swaps. And so at that time, it was just, these were all on chain before central exchange listings for a lot of these things. So, you're printing money out of something like Luna, buying maybe some Solana and something else, and putting that into a DEX on LP. And then now you're making not only some crazy, because those APRs on those things were always like 300% or something. It was crazy when they were trying to launch coins.
You could remember
the liquid coins.
Invictus DAO, that was a big one on Solana. That was like 10,000% APY, something insane.
Totally.
There was and obviously, what was the big one on Ethereum? The one that started it all. The crazy APY.
Wi-Fi.
Which one?
Wi-Fi.
No,
Wi-Fi.
I mean maybe that was, but what was the biggest one? The one that got so many retail
Um,
people into it. Oh, it's gonna kill me. I'll come back to it.
is it
I'll remember. I'll remember
Ohm?
in a second. Oh, Ohm. Yeah,
Ohm?
Ohm
Yeah.
fork. Ohm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Good shit.
All of
That
them did the
hosed some
same thing,
people.
right?
That
They
hosed
just
some people.
were, yeah. Um,
It's like spoiler alert, you are the yield. Like where do you think
yes.
10,000% APY is coming from? It's because people are, they keep buying it and pushing the price up. As soon as people don't buy it and push the price up, it's gonna collapse like a house of cards.
Yeah, you had a lot of like the venture capitalists too that were buying these altcoins and pushing prices. So, retail were benefiting from,
Yeah.
Suzu, like, I mean, like grabbing like crazy amounts on, a lot of these like illiquid coins. And, I think Luna was crazy because like most, it was you were locking up your staff. So, you had, I can't remember, it was like a 30-day lock. So when it started to collapse, like most people just could, like their time wasn't up. Like you're just watching it get stuck there as it depegs.
Oh, yeah, a lot of them did
Yeah.
have lockups. I luckily didn't do Luna. I did Ohm and lost a lot of money in that. Um, and lost a lot of money in Radium just trying to farm that and get the yield on that. But no, luckily Luna was not me. I lost money in Celsius, and then I would say that everyone who owned Solana was impacted by FTX blowing up. Um, so plenty of battle scars.
Yeah. During that time, it was me having like a foundation of, buying Ethereum like at $80 or sub, 200, and, being able to use that and invest it into, Uniswap's infrastructure, or synthetics, and playing in these ecosystems where, as the prices all rose up, you had the luxury of being in a little bit earlier. So like that's kind of how I ran the account to like where it went. It was just, gosh, I remember at the time too, like I'm trying to think like, like this cycle has been so weird, but like they've had, what was it? It was like Frank D Gods and
Yeah.
banks, and I mean they could mention something and people would go crazy. I remember back in the past cycle, it was like LEO trades. Like LEO would mention a coin and like, Falcon Swap, and everyone's just like jumps in as fast as they can. These things would fly. So it was like a very similar environment, but it was just different people mentioning projects that were kind of all the same. I mean, it was like at some point in DeFi Summer, I remember there was just the fruit and food farms, like where it's just like yams, and I mean, it was like the craziest stuff. And I think that in crypto, when you've seen something that gets like a high valuation for being stupid and crazy, and you can't wrap your head around it, like that is like what I'm familiar with, where you can see like just massive growth in. And it's kind of one of those things where people are like, I can't believe you're making money on EMs and yield farming, and but yeah, like, and if I had multiple, like it was like in Cake and other dexes on Binance chain. It was in, Solana chains, Ethereum, farming all over the place, making yield, and then taking that and putting it into like some solid projects. And, when you're in the midst of like a true alt season, where everything's just kind of going up and up and up, you can run, pretty quickly into some of these areas. I mean, if you look at just this last cycle, I would say the cycle's probably still ongoing right now, but like a couple months ago in November, December, you can still see like the on-chain individuals who could take like $100 and run it up to 500,000 within like a couple weeks. So the on-chain meme coin space was giving that type of activity where people could, if they work their butt off into it and you're jumping from one thing to the next, they were making massive returns in that space. You get like these areas where it just kind of like the air comes back and like moves things. And so that's like, I think part of like, there's just always greed within these cycles.
Oh, absolutely. It's all
and
driven by greed,
it's
making quick money.
yeah, and I think the key is just finding like the initial trend. So I think for AI, it was when I saw Goat um, have the run that it did, and it was like, oh my gosh, this AI engine that's like tweeting like a high school kid on crack is like what the tweets were like.
That may or may not have actually been AI. I think that's the funniest part about so
Yeah,
many of these AI, agents is that like they may not have been AI agents. Like who am I to say that it isn't just some person or it's 10 people that are just tweeting out random stuff that they typed into ChatGPT and they were like, all right, generate something that sounds like AI would write, and they're just pasting it from ChatGPT into Twitter and just hitting click and send. I don't know. I don't know the difference.
yeah. So it caught my attention, and I'd been like out like on the sidelines because nothing in the market was really worthwhile, kind of how it is right now.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, it's just not like if you want to lose money, then it's a great time for you to like play. But if you just
Well
if
said.
you're patient, you'll see what like the market's getting. It'll show its hand.
Exactly.
And in that moment, that's what it showed was that like there's an appetite for these AI agents, bots, and infrastructure probably yet to come. And I remember it was like a Sunday or something where like, Terminal of Truth like quoted something and misspelled something, and its price like crashed. And it was driven by the fact that like an AI would never misspell, something, right?
Yeah.
And I remember looking at that and being like, that's the entry. Like, there's your opportunity. Like, anything that was AI related was down like 50, 60%. And it was like, it's not like in crypto, if it's truly going to be a trend, it won't die. Like, it'll come back and will go so much higher than where it is right now. And that's what happened. So that was kind of where I was like, okay, this is like catching my attention. This is where it should be. And then it was all about like researching an AI infrastructure agent. And you could have like thrown a dart at anything AI related. It's like around October and got like, 100, 200, 300% gains like on any of those by the mid-December.
Yeah.
So it was a very short period. And that's why it kind of reminds me a lot of like DeFi Summer and, synthetics, Wi-Fi, Uniswap all running up, and then it kind of died. And everyone was like, this is stupid. Why would we ever do this? And then like, lo and behold, Rune, Luna, everything just like Sushi Swap, everything comes back with like vengeance and goes to a number that you just never thought was possible. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm still looking at AI. It looks completely dead right now. Or you would see it as like either bargain prices, but my old self probably would be buying right now and being like, yeah, like this is the best time. But having gone through like some trading and working in Mercury's group, like I want to see life. So I want to see like heartbeats. And right now, like the only thing in that's like it has a heartbeat is Fartcoin.
Yeah.
Like that's the only thing from like a technical perspective that you're like, this could continue to go in a positive direction. And it's a meme coin from like an AI, like Terminal Truth, like said, this is the coin, right?
Yeah.
So if that moves, it brings back activity. Like, oh my gosh, like Fartcoin's at like $10. Well, how did it get created? Well, it was this AI. What other AI stuff does. So it kind of honestly could bring back the sector to some degree. I don't think all the AI agents are going to come back to life. There's so many, they're just going to stay dead. But I think there's some key infrastructure plays that will develop. And I mean, all it takes is like, oh, Google's invested or Microsoft's acquired or whatever. And you got like everyone's attention.
Google acquires Fartcoin or like some Fartcoin, like just for like the lulz. I mean, I agree with you, and I think actually Fartcoin is on it's on its own pedestal. I think it's transcended the whole Solana AI Trenches meme coin. I think that I mean I think in 4 years it'll be a top 10 meme coin easily. I don't see why not. Like it's funnier than all the other meme coins and Shibu Inu or things like that. Um, and it's unlike a lot of those other coins where there's like a core team and all this and that. Like from my understanding, it was a fair launch. It was just like no, the AI made the coin. It was distributed, picked up by early people, sold by early people, and maybe that's one of the reasons why that it hasn't been listed on any of these big exchanges yet, is because they haven't been able to scoop up enough of it to put on an exchange at the prices they want to. But like, yeah, I'm with you. I think Fartcoin is probably at the top of my watch list whenever I'm thinking about going long.
So a lot of tools exist now that just were not around in DeFi Summer. Um, like, gosh, yeah, things are for you to find items, and I think the hardest thing about buying stuff on chain is that like a ton of them are just rug pulls.
Yeah.
So
well,
you can see like
become way easier. I think that's one of the
yes.
things that's different than DeFi Summer is like I think the barriers to entry are non-existent. I mean, Pump Fund changed the game. You can create a coin and for free pretty much, like close to free. You can create a coin, and you can you can snipe the float with 100 different wallets and you can dump it all on a coordinated effort. And there's tools for all of these. You can you bundle and dump and these teams that are probably good at this are making like many coins a day and just, it's like a VC model. Like, 1 out of 10 might be something to write home about, but like, those other 9 are going to screw a ton of people over. So.
Yeah. I think it was like, wow, if they have a website, then it's not a scam, right? So it's like, it takes time to create. And now it's like, everything's got a website and everything is potentially a scam. So it's like, in this sense, you really have to find the community that exists. And it means sometimes that you're not getting in right on launch. Like if you're buying a lot of these things right on launch, you're playing like this hot potato game of how high can it go and how quickly can I get out? And you can maybe make a salon, a couple salon, whatever you invest, you might be able to make like 50%, 100% on your stuff, but everyone else that's playing that game is hot potato with you, and they're all looking to jump out. There's a lot of people like in the space that do very well in that. That's not what I do. I don't like to like sit there with like the new launches and go through. And there's definitely an environment for it. So I think right now it's like terrible, but like if you go back to September through November, it was a perfect environment where most people were holding on to this longer. So you could like be in something for a day or 2 days versus a couple minutes. And you could see something price appreciation and be able to get out. You could sleep on these, and be okay. Things have changed now where it's like you'll be lucky within hours if you don't get like rug pulled. So I think right now it's like if you're still believe that, crypto is alive, then there's still like value within like the meme coin space, and communities. And, everyone picks on Murad, like the guy has like, I think at the core, like a crypto philosophy of, it could be anything. It could be like any shitcoin, but if everyone believes in it and is behind it, it'll go to a crazy number. So he had his list, right? These are my meme coins.
He was a little too early. That's honestly my take with Murad. Like he created his list before the AI trenches began, and I candidly think and maybe it was just bad luck. Maybe he was unwilling to or unflinching to adapt. Like as soon as he saw these AI names like Goat Memes AI, True, whatever, like all those coins, Fartcoin, like he should have changed his list and put those coins on there. The fact that he didn't, I was like, this is just silly. Because clearly, like all those coins are now that he listed are probably all down more than 90%. I'm sure all of them.
Yeah, and I think that's like where, when I saw him come out with his list, it was like crypto is alive if you can get enough people to believe in it. And I almost feel like we're all buying scams and we're all part of like a pyramid scheme. It's like at some
these
point,
coins don't
like,
do anything. I mean, Bitcoin is a store of value, but everything else is just a more complicated Ponzi scheme. At the end of the day.
And I think it's where my mindset has shifted over the last couple of years in crypto. I've been through 3 cycles. My first one, and probably why I was able to drive something up to some crazy number, was because I had the mentality back then, very naive, of like, these things will change the future and go up to some crazy number. They're going to overthrow Microsoft, you know? Now I kind of see it like differently, where I could, you can see like you're going to have a run. You'll be able to use a trend and these things can go to a crazy number. But, when that stops and you start seeing your support just getting broken, like, you need to step out, And then AI is a great example. Is like there was a time period in early December where things were great. Mid-December, the cracks were showing, and it was probably like, if you take a step back, you look back, you go, yeah, there was like 15 AI agents popped out every second. Like everything was an AI agent. Like it was flooded, right? Yeah. So I was like, well,
everything had its own AI agent. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, how long can this sustain? And everyone's money is getting spread everywhere. You're seeing prices drop. Like that was probably, there was a couple rug pulls on like AI agent that people thought were true AIs that really weren't, to your point. Like Omega was one of them. I think they, had a huge amount of like share. They just pulled liquidity, and everyone that like fully believed, and their mission was just like blindsided. So you saw a couple things like that happen, and it was like, well, one of those moments where you're like, let's cash in the chips and let's walk away. It could be just the little blip like that we saw with DeFi Summer, and then had you done nothing and just continue to, you might see the rise of AI truly to what it should be in the next, 3 to 6 months. You'll see it just like crazy prices and be like, that was the time to buy. Or it's dead and crypto grabs onto a new narrative. So when I kind of say like I'm waiting for like the market to show its hand, that's kind of what I'm waiting for now. Kind of what I saw with AI is like, and I don't know, like there's a lot of talk of like the real world assets, the RWAs, and you got like the government trying to do a bunch of stuff into crypto and supporting it. You have like the World Liberty and what they have with like Ondo positions. You have XRP or making moves within the space, and you kind of look at like are they going to start digitizing real world assets or something? And is that going to be like the theme where you see a lot of these like smaller illiquid coins? Like everyone's now an RWA shop. I think right now like the ones I look at are Ondo and Mantra.
Yeah.
Very solid ones. But you could go back to 2017 and there was like what Polymarket, I think, or there's no 0x, or there were some other ones that were trying to do this like 5 years ago.
It's definitely not a new idea. But
Golem, I think, was like another one with like Mindshare, which they like rebranded but like so like these things. The thing is like just to keep your eye on it. So if I start seeing Ondo or Mantra moving and the red carpet's getting rolled out in this space, then for me it's like, well, am I still gonna like hold on to like Tia and think that that's the altcoin that's gonna run like this cycle? Like probably not. Like you're gonna want to position yourself into like where the trend is, and I think that's what a lot of people did, is that they were still stuck in the Murad coins, thinking that like, well, Giga, all these communities, the Harry Potter, whatever. These things are all going to continue to go because the activity in crypto is like the hype's there, is going to continue. But like the people that saw that AI was a narrative and jumped over, they got to ride that train. So the space moved this cycle, and I'll just end on this. Like the space in the cycle has been like it's been really hard to trade anything here. Like, I think the last cycle was like you had months of a trend. You know, I think here it's been, you know, it was like meme coins for a little bit, and then I jumped to AI, and that's why I'm like, is it going to jump to like crypto gaming or RWAs or something else, or are they going to stay into a theme or not? I don't really know.
Yeah, I definitely think crypto needs a new narrative. Like I think this is clearly the meme coin super cycle, and I don't think we got much of a. I mean, look, obviously, as you said, like a lot of those AI tokens, they went thousands of percent, and if you rode them and sold them well, you made a ton of money. But I think candidly, crypto has become a huge casino. It's always been a casino, but it was a casino where we thought that the future could be changed by crypto, like in a positive way. I believe that. Like I think cycle one with Bitcoin and Ethereum. Bitcoin is clearly a store of value. Could be the new replacement for gold, digital gold. Ethereum could be the world's supercomputer. Those things made sense to me. DeFi Summer, we could uproot banks. You can keep all your money online, get higher APY than treasuries online. You can keep security, safety, all these different things, more functionality, lesser regulation, faster speed of transferring money, all of that. That made sense. And now this cycle, it was like, well, we are the world's greatest casino. Like Solana, we are the world's greatest casino. Pump Fund, we are the world's greatest casino. We're better than Vegas. Like you can, it's a great place to come, have a drink, lose a ton of money. I do believe that the next thing to get people excited is not going to be more meme coins. Look, I think there will always be meme coins, and people will always want to speculate. But I think there needs to be some real purpose for crypto for the next big drive upwards. And I think RWA sounds like a great idea. I mean, putting art, real estate, physical assets online, your uranium or gold or silver, or putting it on the blockchain, like that seems actually very, very smart. And it always has seemed smart. And I think it's a narrative like that that's going to get things pumping again, at least in the altcoin realm. I don't think it's going to be, whatever, Elon Musk's cat.
Yeah, there certain periods where people make so much money that like it's, and I go back to like that time in DeFi Summer, right, where you're making so much on yield that you have money to burn and throw into stupid things. And I think that's kind of where a lot of people were with this cycle, is that they did very well early on, and they burned a bunch of it towards like the last couple months, where you were buying all types of meme coins, you were seeing them pump, and then everything went to zero. So kind of remind me so much of NFTs. It's like that environment where it's so new, and you can make X amount on them, and and then you're
I completely even forgot about NFTs. Yeah, that was exciting, right? That was new. That was exciting. It was innovative. And truly,
same concept, like from a community, right? So it's like in their sense, it was like 10,000 NFTs. That's your community. Anyone who bought one, right? And some communities, like everyone wants in, so the price to get in and join our Discord and our community is X amount, right?
Yep.
It became like, meme coins are essentially the same thing. It's like, I was going to show you like the one that stands out here, that I've been watching is Titcoin. And I love Bitcoin and their community, but I got to tell you, like, when you look at this chart,
wow,
it's 50%, just like
24 hours. Not bad.
It's one that's like, when you look at like, there's opportunity everywhere in crypto. So you can be like, oh my gosh, this time's so boring. Like Bitcoin's not going to do anything. Like meme coins, everyone's like, it's just dead. Well, this thing is just continuing to build its community and grow. And I'm not endorsing it or anything. Like I don't have a position in it, and I'm not financial advice, but like it's just like interesting that like you can still see something that like in crypto, like I would never expect this thing to have moved past a dime, right? And like here we are. So, and I don't know, like, I don't know where it's going, but like, if you're on trends and you start charting like something like just started, like this trend isn't like going the direction that I've seen like other, if I look at like an AI coin or something that's just like flatline. There's something here. So there's something like, okay, you could like dig into the community, you can see like what they're doing, but like, why is this one like standing out over time? And it's not just, with most meme coins, like the birth and death is in like a couple of days. Like this thing is actually still moving in a crazy environment. So like, it's one that like I have like my eyes on, and I'll see like, if Bitcoin does hit to the 70K, maybe 60K region, if like there's like some type of capitulation of that. This is something I look at, because it was like something very similar happened with WIF. We had like a huge, move down, and for whatever reason, the dog WIF hat was like the only thing that like was going up slowly in that environment. People were kind of keeping an eye on it, but like everyone was like, how is a meme coin actually staying alive? And it's the community. It's a lot of people that buy into it and just aren't selling it, but they see value. And these things just like get going like once crypto comes back, because they'll be like, oh, it survived. There's a community there and they're doing X, Y, and Z. I don't know what this coin does, if anything. But it's of interest just because you can see some coins that are surviving during this time. And those are the ones I like to pay attention to, and then kind of see when the environment gets better. Are they still around? Are they going to thrive? Because they'll probably do the most moves, when the market's really good.
Definitely. You've survived a lot of different cycles. How would you say that your strategy has changed? Like, how was Mav trading in DeFi Summer on chain versus Mav trading in 2024 and 2025?
I was, let's say, before joining a community of like traders, pretty much before like Mercury and
shout out Mercury's group. He's one of the realest ones. One of the best traders on Crypto CT. Highly recommend.
Yeah,
everyone join.
And I found him originally through Signal Profits, it's Jacob Canfield's group, and like Mercury was like one of his guys. And like during the last cycle, Mercury took over and kind of made his own group of that community that was there. And so I joined like literally at the end of like the FTX crash. And that was largely because I was like, gosh, I was up so much, but I didn't cash out enough. I probably was one of the lucky ones that's still able to walk away with something, pay my taxes and everything, and be okay. But like, did I walk away with the team? I know. So I kind of was like, I got to like learn how to exit and plan and exit better. And I think traders have that because when they're entering a setup, they're always thinking of their exit, or they should be. So I think, like most people in crypto, you can buy something and you get lucky. Like I could say like, oh, you buy a tick coin, and let's say in the next 6 months, it's like $3. Well, you got lucky, you're stupid enough to hold it for so long. Here you are, you made money, right? But most people will write it all the way back down to zero. And for me, I was like, I need to find like a group of someone that can like help me understand like technicals to exit, because you get so attached to a community, whether it's an NFT, a coin, you believe in everything in the ecosystem, that you need some thing that like is still like holding on. It's almost like Inception, right? You get deeper, but you need something that tells you is it real or not, to pull you back out. And like I kind of feel like that's been like the saving grace, is like finding that group. And then like pretty much the bear market, I learned to trade and understand, when trends are lost, like get the F out. And that's kind of what I do with AI, is that like I had hopes for it to go so much higher. It didn't. And I could sit there and be like, well, I'm going to hold on to this, or you take a step back, you see the activity that was happening, what I mentioned earlier, all the red flags, and you see that the chart is telling you like, yeah, it's time to get out, and you get out, you know. So yeah, like I have very small positions in AI, more cash based. I have some that I'm still like wrote all the way down, but I'm determining what I want to do with the cash. If I want to add it back in, do I want to look at RWAs or something else? I'm just going to be patient with it. But had I not joined that group, I probably would be back to start and all totally unrealized, you know, gains in terms of like, I had this much and I lost it all, which is very common within crypto. So I kind of feel like, you know, everyone's like, well, you know, I'm an investor, you know, I'm investing in this stuff. I don't need to trade. I think one of the best things I did was learn, because it's the only thing that, like, when you see trends getting lost, it's the only thing that probably would be like the most obvious signal that like you just need to get out. And it happens in fast for crypto. Like you'll see like trends lost, retest, and then it's just down another 60%, down another 70%. Like it just continues to just like destroy any account really quickly within a couple of days. And everyone has the hope of like, well, we'll wait for a good bounce and I'll be able to get back up, you know. And if you look at like just the chart, I think I was showing like, you know, they might even have it on here. Like we were looking at AIXBT. Like tell on the chart where this, right? Let me see. So let's look at the daily. Like, yeah, maybe you got lucky and you got in here in December, and you had a huge amount of gains here. You probably saw like this loose trend here, and like around this area, probably been the time to get out, where you're like, this isn't going well. And if you stayed in here, hopeful, you've just seen nothing but like huge deterioration. Now you're down here, and you're like, I'm still holding. I still have faith that like it's going to come back. But if it doesn't, like you're like an NFT holder. You hold that thing forever. You know, so this is like one of those things where I think trading would have helped someone, you know, exit out of here and saying like, you know, we thought this was going higher. It obviously isn't. Things are changing. And this was, that December timeframe. So like, right around like early January was like your time to exit. But yeah, AI is just like, and you have looked at almost any AI chart, they all look the same. All actually is one that is standing out in the midst of everything with AI. So it's one to pay attention to. I like it right now. But let me go on the daily. So got ran up, hit that bottom like everyone else has, and most AI charts are just have continued to flatline. This thing's actually like, there's like a breath of life here. So it's one that I'm like, okay, I'll pay attention to it. Fartcoin's another similar one. But some of these things are bouncing in a direction that like it says it's like not over, it's not giving up yet. So that's kind of where like half my head is like, there might still be something with AI, and there's something that's going on to pay attention to, but you know, I'm still waiting. You know, I'm not ready to like go back in on some of these, but
that's super smart. Can you share for us your best trade of this last cycle, and like how you identified it, how you played it, when you knew the trend was lost, how you cut it, like as much detail as you're willing to share?
God, like my best and worst trades were probably also like pre joining a group. And I think it's like now that I'm in with Mercury, it's like I've learned so much to where it's like you're not going to be as greedy, and you're going to have more risk management activities. So like I'm, you know, taking a profit here, I've set my stop loss, and you know, like you're making, I would say, decent return by having your methodology in place. The best trade was like pre that, where I was, you know, probably stupid and betting with a lot of size on, you know, what I thought would be like the direction we're headed, you know, and just got lucky, you know. So I think that's like, for me, I was like actually shorting pre FTX. So like I was able to catch that move down, and then ended up like selling cashing out. And then once Binance stepped in and said, oh yeah, like we're actually interested in buying, or bailing out essentially FTX, like I was in longs that ran back up to the retest. And I kind of saw it all as a bearish retest at the time. And I was like, yeah, like I'll short again. And I think everyone else was like, this is like great. Like Binance is going to take care of FTX. And then like, what was like a day later, like CZ's like, yeah, we reviewed the details and we're not gonna, and the market just crashed again. So I had like an amazing like 3 days or 4 days of trading where it was like, I originally got like the initial scare moved down from FTX, got the relief rally from, that time period from FTX to Binance. And then when CZ said no, I was already in shorts for that move down. It was like solid.
That's insane. So was this in Solana, or what asset were you trading?
I had, I think it was Bitcoin, Ethereum, and like Matic back in the day. Matic loved to do like enormous moves, and it was a great shitcoin to trade.
Maverick that ticker doesn't even exist anymore. They changed that ticker, right?
Yeah, no, it was like Polygon Market or
something else now.
Like I know they rebranded to something else, but like I paid attention to it more because I think Trader XO and Trader SZ like shit on it so much during the bear market. And I remember looking at, this was before like I joined Mercury's group. I would look at other trader setups, and so I remember looking at like XO's setup for like a short on Matic and being like, yeah, I could see that. And I kind of used like a couple combinations back then of like people that were all kind of looking at something similar when it was losing P levels. And then back in the day, the Astro person, Marin, was like giving.
She was the best.
I miss her too. She was the best. Yeah. I learned a ton of stuff from her, but it was like all she was saying was like warning of this day. It was like an eclipse day, and it was like, so for me it was like, okay, well, if I were to short, I'm looking at setups from like XO, which look pretty good, but then it's also showing that like the Astro is supposed to be bad. And the Astro is interesting because it's like it's just playing on people's emotions. So there's a belief like the stars and planetary alignments and stuff like that. Like, and if you've ever gone to an emergency department on a full moon, like there's like this true myth, almost like it's crazy on a full moon in an emergency department. I don't know why people's emotions are running high, and you could put any type of explanation around it. It just happens.
I totally believe
it.
I think the way that you trade with Astro is so fascinating, and I like the way you first explained it to me. And I'll just paraphrase it. You can add on to it, but like you're like, it sounds crazy, but like the moon in the sky, the stars in the sky, like they actually move the waters, and they move the way they make people feel, and they change your emotions. And it's like the way people feel when they're trading impacts the price. So like if you're feeling really bad, you might be quicker to exit a losing position or cut a winner quickly. And there's things like that where it's like if you stack it up with appropriate price action, it can really actually make a huge difference when you're trading. I think it's just fascinating.
It essentially, like, there's so many people out there that are like amazing at astrology on the Bitcoin, natal chart. I mean, like a bunch of people on Twitter, and we can like post it or something on like just good people to follow if you're really interested in it. But I've always taken it as just like another indicator. So I don't use it solely to trade on, but it's like if I looked at RSI. So everyone uses multiple indicators. I love trends, and then for Astro, I kind of just use it as like an extra component of confluence. So it's like, oh, like if it's going to be a high energy day, ability day, like you can kind of get a sense from those. But the easiest ones that have like the highest hit rate are new moons and full moons. We usually always will like, well, mess this up on Q, but like I think it's like the new moon is you're going to pump into it, and then you dump after, and then the full moon's the opposite. So you're going to dump into a full moon and then pump after. So they're like and bull markets have been like great for like local bottoms and local tops.
Can you show us your Bitcoin chart? I know you have the moons on your chart. I think people need to see
I
this.
I do, but like since I'm traveling, I don't have it on like this trading view here.
Oh, I
But
see.
on my personal trading view, I do have like where I track like the moons, and I want to say like the indicator, like I use like just what is it? It's like um, I think it might be like, I mean, I'll do a plug here for Annie. Not saying that she's like an Astro trader, but for Trade Travel and Chill, she's very solid, and I love her content. Um, but I want to say it was one of her indicators that she had on market sessions, maybe that like her like indicator that's out there that you can use in Trading View. It has like it shows like the moons and their cycle, and you know, like I don't know how she trades or why it was on her stuff, but um, I know I've always like pinged her on like, oh, this is a full moon or something like that, and I think that some other traders, like I know Nick, Bigwick Nick, like they'll say like, but warning on this day, and they're always aligned with like the solar eclipse or lunar eclipse or something. So it's kind of funny. I think there's like some people out there that like don't want to say that like, hey, we use some astrology or something that like impacts some of the trading, but it's interesting. There's something kind of there, like just from like an emotional aspect of like if the chart essentially is supposed to dump according to Astro, I'm expecting a high emotional panic. So, and it's for me action first and then Astro second. So if the chart starts to trend down and it starts like breaking support level, then I'm imagining like this is going to really get going because it's on a day that's like high emotional. People are going to start panicking. They'll make bad decisions, and those are like setups I like, where I'm like, okay, well, this short should probably hit my, T2 or something at this rate. And if it's like a one-off where I'm like, okay, well, like we're talking about the moons, right? Like if it's a full moon, like I should get a dump, but I should pump after. So like, it's not going to be like an FTX continual dump. There's probably going to be a trap, some relief, but for me, targets, because I'm like, okay, it's going to be on a specific emotional energy or something. So I do use it as like an extra indicator. And it's really helped me, honestly, to be cautious certain periods. So there's like a lot of people like on Twitter that you can like follow. And if like the whole Astro community is saying like, this is a bad period, watch out, it's not like a bad idea to just pay attention. Like you probably don't want to be like high leverage trading during that period. Like it's just like some things have worked out really, really well for me in my trading, like just by like being cautious during periods where they say like it's no one's predicting anything. They're not like, oh, we can tell you like which way it's going to go, but just knowing like, oh, like these planets or stars are causing some like high energy and volatility. For me, it's like I don't really want to play in the market right now. Just step out and I'll see what happens. Especially like when everything aligns on like FOMC day or CPI release day, where you're like, you're already going to get, fucked, but like, the MMs on that day. And if it's a bad like Astro day, then it's just like, just sit it out, like there's no need to catch every move. So yeah, I think that it's been helpful from that perspective.
Definitely. And do you only use Astro to trade Bitcoin, or do you use Astro to trade other alts?
I only use it for Bitcoin. I know a lot of people that use it on alts. It's like, the same format. You just need like their birth chart when actually these altcoins were started. If you can find that, then you can like plot their astrology. And there's a lot of like apps and stuff to do it. And like to me, it's like everything's just the altcoins are just so like a liquid. But like there was pretty interesting astrology for XRP this year. Like it was very favorable And I remember it stood out to me because I was like, XRP, like there I had a lot of people that were saying like XRP, man, like in the Astro community, they were like, this thing's like very favorable. And I remember just being like why would you buy XRP? I haven't like touched that coin in like years.
Oh
And
my
it was
God!
like one
Oh
of like
yes,
one
I
of
know what
the
you're talking
best
about.
performers. Yeah, and it's like one of the best performers like this like cycle.
It's
So I don't
so
know. Like,
funny.
there's some people that are really good at getting altcoin Astro now, um, but I just like the Bitcoin. Like, and for Bitcoin, it's been moving like the entire market. So
Yeah.
it's like a different cycle. You know, this year, like it's like you know where you keep waiting for like even when Bitcoin dominance drops, and you're like, oh, altcoins get a relief and stuff. Like, it's been very small relief before Bitcoin's come back in the picture. And I don't know, maybe it's just to do with like the government and Sailor and everyone just continuing to buy the thing. Like it's just, yeah, it's still a driver. And I kind of feel like I've become more of a Bitcoin maxi like this cycle than like my love of alts and everything. And even though I was like in the trenches with like AI, I keep looking at like, what's still like at 80K, it's Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, listen, I probably would have done better just grabbing more Bitcoin throughout like these last couple like of months, versus like going through like the constant stress of like your AI cycle where it's run up and then it's huge run down, and you're monitoring everything on chain. You're looking for the next stuff in the trenches, because that's all like just gone to zero, and like Bitcoin's just chilling. Like it dropped from 100 to 80K, but it's still like strong, right? So I feel like this is like the cycle has been like really focused on that main coin. And sure, like altcoins will follow, right? So like if Bitcoin gets going and hits like 120K plus and keeps going or something, like I'm sure the alts will follow to some degree, but I kind of feel like it's the Bitcoin cycle. It's going to still a show still, and there's a lot of support for it. So it's hard like just to, like the majority of people probably in crypto are like, we're like in alts and we're trying to catch like a 200% move versus a 2x move by holding Bitcoin. So you're trying to get the most reward in something. But if there's no new narrative coming out and then the narrative is Bitcoin, it's like you're just either watching it on the sidelines or, and that's kind of why I trade it. Like I kind of just like, my attachment to it is like just through the trading and cycles and stuff like that. And my on-chain spot is mostly like altcoins.
So you trade very different styles. I would say so. Obviously, I know you before this interview, and I'm familiar with your trading styles. But I would say that the way you trade on-chain Solana altcoins and Bitcoin is very, very different. Obviously, we touched upon the astrology with the Bitcoin, but that's not really the only difference. I would say for all or the on-chain AI coins, I would say you're more of like a super high time frame trend trader, but like you're using a lot of sentiment and your trend or and like narrative analysis to be like, all right, this is gonna be the new hot thing. You're willing to ride huge upswings and huge downswings to like make sure that you're on the right side of the bigger move. But on Bitcoin, as far as I can tell, you're almost like a price action trader. Like you're taking small cuts, short distances, like tight stops, like quick TPs. Like, is that correct in saying that? Like, could you maybe show us some of the way that you're thinking of trading Bitcoin, like in the near future?
Yeah, so like I compartmentalize two different ones. So like the on-chain, and then the nice thing about on-chain is I don't do leverage. So it's like your fear of liquidation just isn't there. Like you can hold this really to zero, but like, you're not going to get stopped out. You're not going to get liquidated. So on-chain is pretty unique as long as there's activity there, right? Like right now it's down. Like, I mean, there's people in the trenches that are still doing their thing, but they were always doing similar thing where they'll kind of buy up a liquid coin, sell it for like one sole profit, and that's what they do. And sometimes they bought the right one that ended up running multiples. So people can still do that with like on-chain. For me, it's like finding the trend and then riding it. and the trends can be like 2 or 3 months of like of a wave. So, for me, it's like you don't have to be the first one. You just have to kind of just be in the crypto space to kind of see. And like we were talking about RWA is like you'll probably see it first before it kind of takes off, and that's a good time to just pay attention. Grabbing some components there and then like seeing where they go. But once the trend takes off and once you see in the space that's all anyone's talking about, that's usually where I just kind of hold it, because I'm like, we're just really getting started. And it goes more than you think it can. Bitcoin is just different where, I think when I was doing the on-chain AI, like I wasn't trading Bitcoin at all. Like there's too much focus like in one space or the other. So when I was on-chain, I just wasn't trading like any leverage.
Were you holding Bitcoin, or were you simply just like, I'm all in on finding these small cap gems and I want to ride them up and I don't have time to even think about holding spot Bitcoin?
Yeah, that's how it was. So I wasn't even holding it. I didn't want to like think about it. I put all my attention to the AI space, seeing what people were buying, seeing what projects were coming out, what they were doing. And you get so like entrenched in that, you can kind of see like the activity around each of these things with price movement. And like it takes a lot of time. Like it'd be hard for me to like manage leverage positions at the same time, spending time on these AI stuff. Cause there's things that get rug pulled and you have to constantly like think through, like, is it time to get out? You're always looking over your shoulder when things are at multiples. So, that's kind of how I usually just spent time just in that space. And then trenches are dead right now. The market's not great, but, I'm looking at like, positions right now. I'm like, oh, you could scalp a little bit on Bitcoin. And, I might look at like high level Astro. Doesn't look great in the coming weeks, to be honest. So like the beginning part of April is not great. And
that's on Bitcoin, or that's also on. Well, I guess you only follow Bitcoin, right?
Yeah, it's Bitcoin, but like if Bitcoin drops, then
everything else drops. Well, so, it's the beginning of April, Mav. Is
I know
Trump's tariff stuff, or like the beginning, the ultimatum. So I think the market kind of thinks that he's going to say, just kidding. But like, imagine if he's like, well, actually, I'm doubling it, or like, I'm adding the EU, or I'm adding this other random country, or it could be it. It's kind of crazy how it coincides.
The Astro like looks bad like after April 4th. So like it's weird. It's like April 2nd is the tariff day, but it doesn't look that bad. So I don't know. It can go either way.
So imagine it's bullish and then it just fades after that.
Yeah. Yeah. So then like, for me, like I'm not in the trenches right now, but I'm kind of plotting out like areas of interest for me in the Bitcoin chart, right? So we look at the Bitcoin chart.
Yeah, show us where you're interested.
Like in this environment, like the market maker's just been like purely enjoying building liquidity on both sides and just waiting for someone to like, you're just waiting for one side to break.
Yeah.
So let's see. So yeah, I'm looking at I have like this sub 82K area mark, and I'm waiting for it to break. There's a ton of liquidity down here, and I think it just like continues to like cascade down. But I am looking for this move first. So if they want to, they might take like 89K. Just seems so high. Like I can't imagine them coming back up and grabbing like this liquidity up here to like the 90K, but they could. For me, just looking at this chart, I'm looking for support over here the next like today and tomorrow. So holding like this 84, 85 area. And if that's the case, then I'm expecting it to come up to like at least 88. Potentially take liquidity up here, but I'm looking for shorts in this area. So if price isn't going to continue to push, then I think there's they're playing a game of building all this liquidity that's been like just built up down here. You know, this 81.4 down to 82. They keep coming down, and they keep just getting everyone's hopes up for longing in this crazy range it's been in. So I think if they do take this liquidity or they come up close to it, it gets rejected, then that's where I'd probably look to enter a short, and I'm looking for a move down. Something brutal. I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, 78, 76. Honestly, I kind of want to like look a little bit further into like the 70, 68 area.
The old range highs.
If it aligns, the end of this week, pretty much into next week, is bad Astro. So, you know, if I'm seeing kind of this like, rejection or move up here, the 88, 89 doesn't get any further, and I'm seeing it just in the end of this week, whatever tariffs and everything happens. But regardless of that, if I start to see it drift back down to after tapping up here, coming down to the 84, 85, 83, my expectation is that it just continues to break this area. And if we're into this next week, which just looks terrible, then I'm assuming just some blood. And, everyone's waiting for a capitulation event. I'd probably think it's probably going to happen around that time. So yeah, that's kind of like how I'll use like, Astro is like kind of just, not super helpful right now. There's been a lot of chop and stuff, but I'm just planning ahead, knowing that like next part of April, like early part, isn't great. My expectation is that like it'll probably come down into the 60 to 70 range, and for me, it's kind of looking for price action. So at me, it's like, I'm not going to just like blindly short 88, 90. Like I like to see the reactions on like the low time frames in those areas.
Can you walk us through that? Because I'm fascinated by, you frequently talk about looking at things on the 1 hour chart, or the 1 minute chart. Sorry.
Yeah.
So tell me more about what you want to see when price gets up to 88K on the 1 minute chart for you to be like, all right, time to go short.
That was a good, let me go to the one. So like, yeah, I'm like probably one of the few that kind of trades like some low time frame, and I don't trade it as I'm like on entered here and I'm out here and I'm in here. It's like I monitor it because it gives me like the early warning signs, or like just early signs of like what might happen on a higher level. So
yeah,
as you're kind of seeing my thoughts, like I'll look at the high level, I see there's a range. I know my levels, so if price is like materializing in those areas, then I'm looking for, rejections, bearish retest on like maybe a different trend or something. But yeah, like I like to kind of see like the volume associated with like holding something. So like today, I honestly expected this to break. Like, I thought like they were going to run 80K. Like I thought like 81K or something was on the table, and they just couldn't do it. So like every time like here, and this is like the 5 minute chart, but you could see it like came down and it was just like support. Like they just didn't want to run it. And I think they did this like yesterday too.
Today. So you're talking about the market makers.
Yeah, I would assume MMs, but at the same time, it could just be like the traders, right? Everyone's just like, we're so hopeful that like this is the bottom, so everyone keeps like holding it up. Like they're chopping up everyone, but like that in my mind, I've been looking at like this little formation here, and so to me, it's like, oh, like if I'm short, I'm not going to keep like trying to short this area. Like it's come down multiple times, and it's just on the low time frame, they're just like holding it. So I know it's a key area, and if it breaks, then I'm like, okay, like I'd want to see it like hold underneath 82 before continuation lower. But kind of looking at it now, like it gives me some signs that like if 84K is like holding and stuff, that like we're just going to continue to squeeze here, and they've just trapped a bunch of like people that are trying to short here. So I think that's kind of like on the low time frames, I look at that, and I could be totally wrong. Like this like could roll over a day or something. I just know at some point, like this 82K level is going to give. Like, I don't think it's going to pull up. See it as like, it's just a matter of time. So I don't think that like we're going to run to 100K from here. I think they're going to like take some area lower here first. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. But like in the meantime, um, I honestly, this looks like it's like going to continue to trend up to just screw over some shorts. And obviously this happened over the weekend too. So you get the weekend traders that are potentially trapped.
That was what I was thinking. I actually was looking at so many different alts last night, and I was like, "Wow, this looks so bad." And I don't trade on the weekends, and I almost was like, "I'm going to short this right now." I was like, "Why should I even wait?" And then I was like, "Wait, this seems too obvious to short. Like everything is kind of at like range lows, like breaking point. Nothing is beneath this level for some of the alts I was looking at." And I was like, "Nah, this is too obvious. The market makers are gonna screw with us here." So I agree with you. I don't think it's never as obvious as you think it's going to be.
I think this was the Saturday move. I think like 85 down to like 82. And I remember being like, I thought this was supposed to be like, usually weekends boring. It's like you don't trade it, it's just chop. And I remember seeing this move and I was like, there's no way they're gonna like continue and like go down to like the 70Ks like on the weekend. So I was looking at like, oh, the trap's probably in this area where they trap some people. And then of course Monday, New York likes to like always hit like a little bit lower. So they trap some more. But I think they're, like funding and everything looks fine. But I think it's just for me, this like structure on low time frame just screams at like this. And I look at it too, like the old me, right? I'd be shorting this. This chart looks horrendous. Like, I mean, like if you go back and you're just like, okay, like let's look at the 15-minute chart. Like Bitcoin looks like shit. So I'm like, like it's fallen. It looks like it's just rolling over, right? But I feel like that's like the time that like anyone's like messing in the markets, like they love to let people get really confident in this like area before like giving you like a fuck you and then rolling over, right? So like I mean, gosh, like how many people have like shorted 88K and they're feeling really confident, like only to see like this market's been like the king of like coming back to your entry here. So like, okay, if you were short 88 and you were waiting for like this move down the 70s and you're here at 82 and you haven't taken any profits yet, like get prepared to be back up to 88. Question, should I have like even been in this? Like I was up massive. Now I'm back to break even. If I move my stop to break even, it's out. And now you're trying to think of a new setup. So this market recently has just been all about like disappointment when you're in trades. If you're not getting in and out quick enough, if you're looking for more, downside to something or more upside, it's been like a constant. And that's why I think a lot of people are like, we're just not trading it. Like just sit it out and wait because there'll be like better days to trade and you're losing a ton of your capital by like in fees just by sitting in this only to see it like come back up, but that's why I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised to see that kind of move.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I've shorted a little bit, but I agree. I think you're targeting these bigger moves that you think you're gonna get more volatility and you don't. And I think especially on Bitcoin, where it's one of unlike altcoins, like you have Sailor and now maybe we have GameStop that are just going to keep buying this thing, and who knows what other silent parties are quietly funneling this. Like if without those people, I think the price would be obviously much lower. And I think that's kind of thwarting some of the volatility and some of the downside momentum. Man, I wouldn't be surprised honestly if there's more fuckery and it doesn't sweep that level first and then roll over. Like a total fake out, hits 92K, stops out all these shorts here, blows everyone out, and then just rolls over, says, hey, we're actually not going to be able to get back into the range, and just completely dies.
Yeah, that's
the nastiest move, I think. Everyone's like, oh, this is a higher low, let's go gig along, and then it hits 92, and then it really rolls over.
Yeah, I think you'll see some move this week with the tariff news.
Yeah, and that could be it,
Yeah.
right? He says, "Hey, I'm not. Well, actually, we're going to do half the tariffs." That would be the type of announcement that would send a candle up there.
Yeah. And then, like, in his normal fashion, 2 days later, well, actually, I changed my mind. Like, he's pretty
Yeah,
quick with, like, that's why I think the market's been crazy, is that, like, we're constantly trending. I don't want to say trending, but we're like in a down move, and then some tweet hits, and then it's like destroys all shorts, and then like rolls over again.
totally.
So I kind of feel like that's this week. It's just going to be like if you're in a position here, like, I mean, you're just like in this space here, like you're asking to be on the leverage just to get like chopped. So I think, I used to play in this, and, having been with like Merck's group, and seeing a lot of the other traders too in that space, and a lot of the people I follow, like most people are just waiting for like the range to break. So it's like, you're either going to take liquidity up here and then run it back, or you're going to, come down and break this and continue down. But like, I think that the hardest thing is like when you're a new trader, so afraid of missing the move, and you want the move to be like a big move, right? You're trying to make money, so it's like, like you're probably like, I'm going to short here because it's going to break, and then I'm going to make a lot on the short. No, it didn't. Okay, I'm going to add to it, and then it's going to go. Oh, no, it didn't. Now it's up to here. So now you're just like, well, your pain is going to be felt when you see this thing move up here or something. And like when you're in the weekends, like you're always like, oh, like I don't want to miss it. I want to be positioned. And one thing I've learned about this is that like, look at like, it's been like days, man, like a month in this like chop. Like you haven't missed anything, like
nothing. The
smart people I know have like literally been out. This didn't touch it in March. Like there's nothing here, So like, even like on low time frames for me, it's trying to get like an idea of like where, oh, it got stopped here. Where's it going to go? It could just continue to do this like little chop here, and like nothing comes of any move this week. And that's kind of why I like the Astro a little bit, because I'm like, well, Astro says like people are going to start panicking next week. So where would the panic set in? It would probably be, us breaking the 82K and going lower. So that's kind of where my head is like directional basis. Like I kind of think shorts will be favored, but like I want to see the price materialize first. And like for me personally, I don't want to get in a short right here. And if I miss the move, that's like one thing I'm okay with. So like I don't want to short here expecting lower and I'm going to sit through it. To me, like I'd like to see like everyone who's been short here just get fucked. And I'll
and then get short.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If there's no continued support and trend going forward, and it just looks like literally they just took out this liquidity, I'll enter there. And to me, it's like I feel like my risk reward would be decent here, and I'd have like a better, exit to say like, okay, well, if it's starting to trend above like 92, 93K, I'm wrong,
Yeah.
But like trying to do a short here, thinking this thing's going to roll over, it's just not a good spot for me. Like I wouldn't take it.
Totally.
And that confluence for me is like, well, Astro's not bad tomorrow. It's not bad the next day. So there's plenty of time for some movement up. And for me, it's like, it helps me be patient, it helps me not like feel like I'm going to miss a move or, and it's not right 100% of the time too. So like I said, I could wake up tomorrow and see this thing at 76K and be like, oh, I missed it. Like shorts today were like where we should have built it and whatever. I think you in this space have to be okay missing moves. Even if it's the big move. Like I think everyone here is like, we all know it's going lower and you all want to catch that move. But like every time the markets come down, like it's been happy to like mess with you and like take out anyone that was like trying to short these lows. So if they're going to do the same thing here, I don't want to be like caught in the mix. You can either wait for like this thing to break and it comes back, and then you take a short lower. That's an option. But for me, I feel much comfortable like entering up here with no continuation. So it's kind of that. I'll plot it out in my head, and then kind of watch like the price action. And I don't watch the 1 minute chart all day. Like I have like another job, I do my stuff. But like when I come in and I look, I'll like review and kind of see like, okay, what's it look like here? And then like down to like, if I'm looking at the 1 minute, like it's done nothing today, right? So like you're just killing yourself if you're watching this. But for me, it's like, oh, if I check it later, I'd want to see like some scammy moves like up here, like by end of today or the next, like at least in like maybe Asia session or something if it's going to chop maybe. But UK, I kind of want to see someone get to like the 85K area and kind of chop in this area. And then I might feel like more confident that like, oh yeah, they're probably going to push it up more, you know? And once again, it's just like waiting for your intrigue. I think one of your past interviews you guys had was like, I love that tagline that Trader SD has on his thing. It's like you're triggering your trade and like the time in between is like what you're waiting on.
Yeah.
And it's like majority of people just don't have the patience. And, you know, and I've been the victim of this, man. Like how many times have you, like if I have like, let's just say, let's like pretend that this 84 is 89K or something, you know, and you're like, okay, I expected the price to come back to this 88, 89K region. It's there. But like they haven't really blown out the shorts yet, you know, like they could probably push it higher, but I'm gonna get in here with everyone else, you know, and it wasn't like really part of like my original plan, but I'm afraid that like, you know, the way that the chart's going on low time frame, for example, they keep like dipping it down and they come back. And so you're kind of thinking, oh, yeah, like they're not gonna, this is probably as good as it gets, right? So then you get in, and then like you see the price just go, keeps going up, and you're like, oh, God, you know, now you're part of everyone else that's getting get squeezed. So I think like I've been the victim of that, of like, you know, you have your whole setup and everything, but then you enter in like really where you're trying to front run your own, what you decided was an entry. And you're now feeling like the wrath of like the market. And then you start second guessing yourself, your emotions take over and you're like, oh, I'll just cut it, you know? And then like the next couple hours you see it dump after it takes liquidity or something. And you're like, that's the trade I should have been in, but I jumped the gun a little bit and I wasn't happy with like where I entered, and you got in your head. So I think for me, it's like now it's like, it's all about being patient. So like I kind of have my areas and I have to just wait for it. And I have to be okay that like, if I miss it, I miss it. Like I've missed a lot of trades, but like, as I was showing you like on chain, like there's plenty of opportunity, right? So like, you know, you miss something there, like, you know, if the market, let's say, gets going, right? So like, oh, like things come back, Bitcoin's trending up, then on-chain comes back. There's just other things, right? So maybe I wasn't positioned to catch the Bitcoin long on my dreams, right? But there's a ton of other alts. There's other things that are going to follow. There's like other things to take. So there's always a setup somewhere. And that's kind of what I've learned, is that like, oh, I missed that one, but like, you know, what else is going to roll over to, you know, or what else is going to run with it? And just being patient with that. But yeah, I think that scenario I was describing with like front running your own decision, like position, like area of interest, like, oh God, that's the worst, you know, and you enter thinking like, oh, maybe it's not getting there. And that's where low time frame can be like a trend, but it can also be an enemy, because you get like these, you know, erratic moves that like just amount to like, they're like, this is nothing, right? Like this looks like they're trying to roll it over, and then they do, but then they come back, you know? So if you're watching this, you're kind of on your own little roller coaster of just like, oh God, like, you know, this, I should have shorted here. This is going to roll over, and then it doesn't, you know? So it's kind of it's interesting, but I like to do it because it like just gives me like an idea of kind of like the flow of the market. And I do it since I trade with like my areas of interest, and then like kind of like with the timing of the Astro, I'll look at like, oh, this date or this day is crazy. So I'll kind of be like aware of like what low time frame looks like leading into it or something like that. And it's just used, like I said, as confluence. So it's like, oh, it like helps me feel confident. And I think that's like the thing that like most people need is like they got to be confident in their setup and their trade. And like, I don't know, like whatever it takes. Like for me, as crazy as it sounds, like knowing that like if I'm in a short by end of week and the market's fucking with me over the weekend and this thing all rolls over the following week when Astro's bad, like to me, like if my stop loss was never hit, the trade's still valid. It like, you know, either stop looking at the chart or have something that you kind of feel like this is like why you took the trade and your exit is going to hit. And, you know, for me, like the Astro helps where I'm like, okay, no, it's supposed to be bad next week. So I'm just going to stick through it. And, you know, if my stop wasn't hit, then I'm just going to not worry about it, right? Because if you scroll through, you know, crypto Twitter or whatever, you're going to see so many things that will validate your stuff, make you second guess yourself. And, you know, like fuckery on a Saturday, you're going to be like, okay, like, yeah, I don't know why I'm still in this trade. Like, I need to get out. Like, everyone else thinks it's going to go higher. Like, and that's a good point, right? We're like, let's say we're at like 92K. No, it's like queue up like into the weekend. Like, this will be great. Like, why am I still short? Like, I should be long. I should be switching long, you know? And all these like traders I follow, they're all like, this is going to be the breakout. Like, you're going to want to, it's holding, you know, the 4 hour close or whatever, you know? So like, I'm sure there's going to be that period of time where you are second guessing everything. And for me personally, what's helped is just like, not many people will use like the astrology about like emotions and all that kind of stuff. But like, it like helps me kind of feel like, oh, no, like things will hit soon. Like, I'll just wait. And it's helped a lot. Like, some cases it's wrong, you know, Astro can get delayed based upon planets. So like, there's like some times where it just doesn't work out, but sometimes it has, and it's worked out more in favor. So that's why I still use it.
You said a lot of really great things there. Two of the things you said were that you've grown to become more patient and more confident. Like you're no longer the person that's going to take this short at mid range. You're going to wait for it to be at range highs, or you're going to wait for it to break down below the range lows. How did you grow and gain this discipline to be patient and be confident? What did your journey look like to get there?
I think like, you know, God, I would say like you make a lot of bad decisions. You start to like adjust. You know, I think everyone has a trading journal. I like use Discord as like my trading journal. So like I put like everything on Discord, like my thoughts and kind of like where I would expect a trade and things like that. But yeah, I think for me, it's like my lesson learned has been like I've lost the most amount of money trading weekends, so I just don't do it anymore.
Same. That's a great one to implement. That's an easy one too, and then you get your weekends back.
You know, and I think it's funny because I was like, this weekend I didn't expect any move, and of course there was like a kind of a deep move down, and I was like, oh god, like the you know, it's like that thought of like, oh man, like I don't want to miss this move down because I know that's like gonna be the move. But a lot of people would say like, oh, if you miss that, then like you're looking for the capitulation event, and you're looking for longs, and you can ride the move back up, you know. So there's always like another way to see it that you'll be fine. But I think for me, it was just like it was making a lot of bad mistakes to where I was like, I've lost more money than I want to in my trading account, you know. And then it's just like, okay, like it's right when everyone has like a bad trade, always feels like take a break, like walk away, like definitely do that because like you will not be in the right mindset. You will just take your account to zero, making like bad decisions. So I think for me, it was kind of taking a step back and being like, yeah, like I've seen price in this range and shop to know that like there'll probably be another opportunity. So for me, it's like, oh yeah, I don't need to because I'm expecting just the way this whole month's gone. that they're going to just mess around and probably come back to an area where people were shorting from, take liquidity and come back. And it feels very much like a bear market where like I learned to trade, pure chop, just going to liquidity levels, no sense of direction, no narrative, nothing driving anything. So in that mindset, that's kind of where I'm at. And I can be more patient in this environment because I'm like, you're probably going to see your entry many times and your exit many times, and you just kind of just wait. I think it's a little bit harder in like a full uptrend. So I think like the move that we had, like, gosh, like originally I got this going from like the 40K or something to like 100K or something. Like there's like a massive move. That is more difficult because like you know that it's just not like the fear you have is that you've missed it and you will continue to miss it because they're never going to give you a good entry when it's like in a parabolic uptrend. So you're waiting for like a retest of 5 minute or something or 15 minute. I think that is like more of like your fear, and probably where I don't do well is like once we're like, good trend that's going up, let's say you're still in the patient mode. Like, I'm being patient, I'm going to wait. And your entries just never come. And you're like, okay, well, I'll continue to be patient. Never comes because it's just like a parabolic uptrend. It just keeps going to like these like low time frame things, right? And then because you've already missed it, where you would have been like, oh, this is the size I'm using or whatever, you missed it. Like for me, it's like, oh, well, I can jump in on like this 5 minute retest, but I'm not going to use anywhere near the size I was going to use. So small amount, and you can ride it a little bit and then you're getting out. It's like, for me, it's like different where I'm like, oh, I'll take like a little stab at it, but it was never my original setup. And that was missed. And then the second setup was missed, third. So I think that is much more frustrating as a trader because you're like, I can try to get things in this uptrend, but it's not working. And that's where I think like this cycle's been different because you wouldn't really worry about it because Bitcoin was like, it would take the cake, but then altcoins would all run. So like, you're like, oh, Bitcoin's running, so let's just wait for Ethereum to run. Well, that hasn't been the cycle, Ethereum is like one of the worst things to trade. So it's like, I think that's like a little bit more difficult where what you would fall back on is like, oh, there'll be another like opportunity, like what the alts they're going to follow. Well, not the alts that I selected, right? So I kind of feel like that's where I think when I see those kind of moves, and if I've missed it, then it's just another patient waiting game for like where on-chain was. Where I'm like, okay, well, I'll wait for like a trend to show an on-chain, and then I'll do very well on that instead. So I think like, I didn't do well on this last parabolic move with Bitcoin. So I just didn't trade it. But like I ended up moving into like other areas and I did well on like AI, and that's like kind of beauty of crypto is that like, oh, I wasn't the person that got in with early and I wasn't the person that got this Bitcoin run, but AI came on the table and it was perfect. And I saw it and I ran with it and it did really well. So, and you can think like I missed like a year of price action on everything and I had to wait for like October to December, but that was fine. So there's always like something. It's just, I think that patience and like seeing the cycles, it's been helpful. This cycle has been really hard because nothing has stuck like the last, and like your bag of tricks that's worked on the past cycles hasn't worked in this one. Like, I mean, I kind of feel like the alt cycle, the alt season that everyone wants is like, it's like laughable at this point in time because we're like, when is it going to happen, right? Is it going to happen? We always get it, right? And it just, nothing's really been like a true alt season. So, and I think that's kind of where the frustration lies is that like, well, I missed the Bitcoin move, not a big deal. I can watch the altcoin move and like nothing really happens. So, and then, you finally get a setup and you get in one, and then Bitcoin decides to like change it starts nuking or something, and then like ruins the party. So you're like, oh god, like the one setup I took, now I'm like fine. So that's kind of like it's just been like a really weird cycle to trade on leverage, and I don't know. Like I think people that have done really well have probably just done like spot trading or just accumulated spot and like stayed away. Like getting into like your trades and stuff, like expecting these things to go multiples when like they're not. It's been like I feel like everything's been like just cut really soon, and a lot of chop for like you'll sit through for like a price move that you've expected. It's just a lot of waiting, and that takes a toll. So like for me, on chain was just more fun. It was just like, you know, you could go to sleep and not worry about being liquidated or like stopped out or anything, because it was like, you know, you knew the environment wasn't going to just die overnight. And I think when crypto's in that space, it's like it's more fun and active. It's kind of like what we were all like joined and what we wanted to be a part of. But yeah, trading, I think for the traders that are still trading this market and stuff, like props to you. I mean, like that, this has been one of the toughest markets I've seen to trade, and I'm still new to trading, but like even me just taking a step back too has helped. And I'll jump in here and there, but like my trading right now, like if I take trades, they're small size because the expectation is that like this thing's not going to go one direction or two, you know, it won't go really fast. It's going to go through multiple chop or slow bleed moves, and it's just going to be painful. So, you know, are you prepared to be in that? So for me, it's like if I take a loss on it, it's not going to kill me. But that's kind of like where I'm at right now.
When do you think you'll be more active again? What are you looking to see before you dive like headfirst back into the trenches?
That's a good question. I really want to see, like, I feel like a true capitulation event. So I feel like every time like we get close to one, it like doesn't happen. Like it's like, oh god. I feel like AI has, like, I mean, if you look at AI, I mean, it looks like it's just gone back to its start, and like, you know, everyone's like walked away from it, saying like, gosh, this is like so stupid. Like, why did we buy these AI agents? Went to zero. But I feel like Bitcoin has like some more downside to go, and that's kind of what I'm looking for. I'm looking for like some more panic in the markets. You know, even with the stocks and stuff, I'm just looking for like something that like gets us to like, what that COVID environment felt like, you know, when it was like just pure panic. You saw everything just drop like massive amounts and then came back. So I'm kind of waiting for that. And like what, for me, I'm looking at April for like that month. But I'm not going to continue to wait for it if it doesn't happen. And I think I'll be more hopeful like coming out of May. So I still feel like this cycle is not done. It's done like things in the past where you get like these dips and stuff and like pullbacks that are very common to this. And I think like, you know, we might see like trends be reclaimed in like June, July, leading into like fall or something. So I'm kind of looking for that. Like, I think for me, it's like wait for things to get more bloody and look to buy that blood, or just wait for some trend reclaims higher up. But yeah, I kind of feel like you get that point where like what a capitulation event feels like is the point where you start questioning that you've wasted your year and a half in this space. So I kind of feel like most of us are like last little part, like it's dead, you know, it's not giving you much, there's nothing to do, and the trenches are gone, like everything's just like, it's not like great, but like I'm still here, I still believe that something's going to come, and I need one last move to take away that hope. That's usually the part where you start to question like, shit, should I have sold all my spot? Like, what am I doing in this space? Like, this looks really bad. I don't know, maybe some like regulation change or something. It makes you question everything. That's usually like the last part. So I feel like a lot of like new people have to experience that. Like, I'm putting everything to stables, just like, this is it. Like, I just can't take this anymore. And that's kind of like where I feel like that last event is like the point to step in. I've always felt like that in the last couple of cycles through a capitulation of like, you hit yourself for like not getting out earlier, and then you just beat yourself down when it like goes to zero and you're like, yeah, I have nothing to show for now. That's like the rock bottom. So I'm waiting for that feel in the market. And I don't think we're there yet. I think there's still some hope that needs to be taken.
That's hardcore, man. Some hope that needs to be taken. I don't think you're wrong. So you're looking for a total, complete emotional washout. Just all the new people, get them out of here. They can give us their 10 soul portfolios, and we'll have to wait for the new crop of people, basically.
Yeah, I think that the cycle's a little bit unique because like the government's buying and sailors buying and all this kind of stuff that's going on. So I don't think it's going to be like, I don't think we're going to say 20K, 40K, 50K. I'm looking at like the mid 70s to like low 70s. And I think people will step in and buy it. And, with Trump as a president, I feel like the guy wants to like save everything, right? So like, what better way to like see the market nuke and, oh, hey, the reason why it's like coming back is because I bought like some for the strategic reserve or something, like the reason why the market didn't nuke was because of me. Like, I kind of feel like he has to have that like conversation and a statement or whatever. So that's why I kind of feel like there's like, if you look at like every down move, like World Liberty, I mean, everyone's buying Fidelity, BlackRock, like they're feeding in this area. So if there is a deeper move, I feel like it's just like for them to add more, and it's probably a great publicity thing for like the president to be like, hey, I saved your industry, So that's why I'm kind of like, I think that has to happen still, and I think it, things get better after that, and that's when like all like the good stuff happens. Like it's like, oh, Apple's just invested in Bitcoin or something like that. Someone who hasn't like bought it yet, and now like they have it.
A real Fortune 100 company,
right?
Yeah.
And then everyone's like, oh god, like everyone's like talking about how it should be part of your 401ks now. People start buying it, but I kind of feel like Bitcoin's leading it, and that's where all of the alts just take a back seat, and it'll be a period of time. Like the only thing that like higher Bitcoin does is it just creates like a degen environment. So like if it's like Bitcoin's back above 100K, all it's done is just give like an environment for like more people to be risky with like what they're spending and stuff. And in those environments, that's where the trenches thrive, and meme coins and all the AI speculation, because people have the funds to do it. So that's like where you look for a trend, and that's what I'll kind of be like keeping my eyes on. Is it, what is the narrative that people are pushing, and you just kind of read that in that environment.
How do you find your narratives? Because obviously you were very quick to find DeFi Summer before those prices got insane. You were very quick to call the AI coins before even anyone was really talking about them on Twitter, in my opinion. And I know a lot of people, may not know who you are and may not even follow you on Twitter, but Maverick really was one of the first people to talk about this stuff. I think you were honestly talking about this in like June, July, August. Like you were talking about this like early in the summer of 24, before any of this really got started.
Yeah, I think I don't know, like there's like these early times where you're in something and you can see price start to appreciate like in a really good direction to where you knew that like, okay, this is the spot to be.
You might not identify a narrative like right away, but you'll notice it once it starts trending. So like the AI narrative, everyone that hit the FUD storm of like the AI can't do any misspelling, and whales that were in GOAT early were just like selling like crazy because they're like, oh, I don't want to hold this. It's probably a scam. There's like that moment in time where it's kind of a gamble. And it was like, well, you could buy the 60%, sale on any AI coin in that space and then just see how it goes. Because if it's already down 60%, maybe it'll be down 20 or 40 the next day and you take a hit, or you just got a great entry. And you'll know it. I mean, like, that's kind of where I stepped in and everything recovered that week. People got over, the fact that like it made misspelling errors and it was normal. And it was as if like nothing ever happened. And another example was AI16Z. Shah, who was running it, kind of has an arrogance around him, like very similar to Do Kwon. And, I think a lot of people hated Do, but Luna did like multiples. And so there was a time where I think there was like some vampire attacks on, they launched their own ELISA when there was an ELISA that was on a platform called Weifu or something.
Yes, I remember this, and I bought the one that got launched on the old one got a like Bybit listing. I think I bought it on Bybit, and they like tanked because there was a new one that came out.
Yes.
It was a
So
very weird day.
yes. And so everyone like is yelling because they hate this guy. Like, dude, like you launched this other ELISA that's yours, but like, and I think for him it was like, well, the technology that he needed to be launched on their own, and now they had it, they weren't to do it. But like, everyone was in the other one that was going to zero, and this is like one of those opportunities in like your on-chain space where AI16Z started crashing too, because everyone's like, well, screw this, like. And this is how you're in a narrative, is because you'll recover. So like no matter how bad the FUD, like in the next week, AI16Z is like pushing new all-time highs and keeps going, right? And that was your time to buy the dip. So like I think at any point it like dies, and like as you saw, like all of AI has like just died. But there was a period of time where it was like these like things just couldn't kill it, and it just kept going and kept going and kept going. So even if you're not like the first one to spot it and you can't see it, you'll see it through like the trial and error, like these like tests that they get, and the fact that it like continues to go higher, and everyone's like, I can't wrap my head around it, And I remember during that time, like everyone was like this thing should be at zero, And I think people were getting frustrated too, because they were in like their meme coins, like Giga, all these other meme coins that that Murad had, and they were seeing the prices drop because the liquidity was being pulled from those into the AI space, and like AI was just continuing to grow. And I think at that point in time, like it's super obvious that you're like, oh, that's the trend. That was like, you could look at that with like, any narrative in DeFi time where it was like, oh, Solana when it first started, and it was like pulling all the liquidity, the TVL was growing up, everyone was going on chain to do things in the space. And if you're still like on Ethereum trying to make your stuff happen, like you're seeing like liquidity just get sucked. BNB had its run too with Pancake Swap, so you can either play these narratives or you can just kind of like sit and watch. But if you're in coins that are not the narrative, just expect them to go down, and liquidity gets sucked out of them and gets pulled into these other areas. So that's kind of how like, spotting it is just kind of looking for blips on a space for like where money's starting to flow. I usually don't pull the gun there. I usually wait for a FUD storm, something to happen, and see how it reacts after. And if it survives it, then you're kind of in the same spot. If it continues to survive multiple FUD storms, and like it's got like more fuel in the tank. Yeah.
It's just like when in 2018 or 2019 when China banned Bitcoin for the first time, and the price tanked, and then like a month or two later it like rebounded viciously. that was like kind of like an aha moment for me where I was like, okay, I don't think any country can kill Bitcoin. Like I need to own as much Bitcoin as possible.
There you go. Yeah, that's like
Survives the flood
definitely,
storm.
it's definitely one of the ones that's been holding out, you know. You just can't kill it.
Can't kill it. I don't think anyone will be able to kill it.
Yeah.
Um, I guess last question from me before I'll open up to you is if you could go back to your day one trader self and give yourself any piece of advice, what would it be?
Um, I'd probably say like there's a way to do leverage trading, and don't try to make $1 million, you know, like leverage trading. I think a lot of people come in and they're like, oh, I don't have the money, so I'm gonna like use this and try to get massive amounts on trades. Like you'll lose everything so fast. Um, I think if I told myself one thing, I would be like, hey, do small dollars, get familiar with it. I know people do paper trading, but I feel like it's not the same until you actually lose money. That you're just like, you shape up faster. I feel like, um, but you could do that with small amounts. So taking small positions, learning from your mistakes. I wish I did that. I think I learned, but I took bigger sizes on positions and lost more and stuff like that. But like I think for me, I probably would have done just as well had I done like smaller position sizing to really like get a feel for like setups that were consistent and then know like my flow of like how I'm trading and then scale into something larger.
Absolutely. Risk management, risk management, risk management, the most important thing, absolutely, in trading. One of the things that I wish I'd learned earlier, speaking on that point of like risk management, is I was trying out a new strategy a few months ago and I was like, I want to do this, but I want to use real money, but I don't want to get, I don't want to lose too much money. And I was like, what if I just use $100 as my risk? And each time I win a trade, I'll add like another 100. So if I win a trade, it's 200. And I think I was like, if I lose a trade, I'll knock off $10. So I can't go to, negative or zero. But I was like, all right, if I lose, I'll go to 90. If I win, I go to 200. And I'll keep going like that. And honestly, it was probably one of the smartest things I've ever done. And then once you're finally like, oh my God, I'm at 1,000. So I won 10 times. I was like, I'm actually good at this now. And I would have saved myself so much money if I could go back to day one and if I had traded like that. Just been like, all right, start with a small amount, bump it up each time you get it right, bump it down each time you get it wrong,
Yeah.
and don't raise it to a big amount until you're ready, until you can consistently win. That is something that most people who are new won't do. Even if they hear this, they won't do it. They're going to want to use a lot of money or 1% of their account or whatever. But you can just save yourself so much pain by not doing that, and you'll be richer. You'll have more money, and then once you're good, you can have larger position sizing. But well said, Mav.
Yeah, no, I feel like I mean I remember hearing the same thing from Mercury, like, hey man, like you don't have to do this, on your trades, but like, and I remember like it was like even like when he was giving a good setup for like a long or something, I'm like, well, I'm gonna short it. Like sometimes like you just like have to learn yourself and then like be like, oh, now
Yeah.
I see what I did.
Yeah.
Lost money in the way, but like there's something about like you definitely finding your own trading style because if you were to give me like solid setups, everyone's emotion will get in the way of like you deciding to hold it or not. Like it's something about you coming up with your own trade setup. Like mine's really unique, right? Like I'm like, well, like I got like these reasons why, and oh yeah, Astro is part of it or something, but it would be something that maybe someone else wouldn't take, and it would be a trade setup that like if I sent like into a group or something, people might be like, okay, I'll take it with you, and then it comes up to a level that like gets everyone kind of like uneasy, and everyone cuts it or something, like it wasn't your like trade idea to begin with, so I would expect you to like cut it,
Yeah.
so I think that's like there's groups out there that just don't do like the signals that actually try to teach you, and I feel like it's so positive to like have that learning so you can actually do things right, and you can develop your own, because at the end of the day, the hardest thing is to like hold your trade through chop. And if like you're looking at like the chart we were just showing on Bitcoin, like to hold it through like whatever's happening right now, if you're short or you're long, you know, and you know, most people that just got it from like a signal probably are going to be like, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to cut it, you know? So like,
Yeah.
you know, you're, if you came up with it, you probably have an idea of like where it's going. That's like what you're willing to hold out for, and you know your stop loss and your risk on it. And that's like, you can live with it. You could sleep on it, you know? So yeah.
Definitely. I think you're never going to succeed taking someone else's trade, and you're never going to succeed trading someone else's strategy. I really believe those two things. I think everyone's trading style reflects who they are deeply, intimately as like a human being. All of your strengths, your weaknesses, your fears, your greeds, like the way you trade is going to reflect that. And like, sure, you can borrow a lot from other people, but at the end of the day, you will do things totally differently than someone else. And I think you haven't really become a good trader until you have like a truly unique style, in the sense that like you decided to do everything that you just that, like all your entries, all your exits, the way you entered it, the number of times you entered it, the number of times you exited it, the size, all of that. Like, I think that is, you have to come up with that on your own. You can learn from a lot of different people, and you should learn from as many people as possible. You should learn trend trading, order flow trading, price action trading. You should digest it all. But I think at the end of the day, Astro trading, right? You should digest it all, but at the end of the day, you have to decide what your style is going to be.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much. I appreciate you having me on as guest.
Yeah,
It was awesome.
Matt, this is a lot of fun. I have a hunch that we'll do a part 2, part 3, part 4. Who knows? But thank you so much for being here.